Hi, it's Steve and Joe from Freshagenda. And so, Steve, we've got a few things to get through this week. We've had another negative GDT result, down almost 4%, but we're going to give a bit of background based on our latest outlook for global dairy directions. Do the dissection of the GDT event itself, and then, of course, chart of the week, what everybody loves.
Yeah. So we published our October directions yesterday, no, Tuesday, Monday.
Today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday.
We had Cup Day, people. We lost track.
Yeah, we live in a city where there's a holiday for a horse race. Yeah. So just the things that changed here, Joe. We've not really changed our bearishness in the market.
No.
Paid a bit more attention to what's going to happen when we go through this trough, and having a careful look at trends in demand going beyond that. So saying that, China's demand, we believe, will pick up later in 23. We probably have pushed that recovery back a bit and flattened the peak shipping curve.
Yes.
Certainly New Zealand's milk outlook got worse, and with the September result that came out, October's expected to be worse.
Yep.
Now saying November's also going to be down, and the weather isn't getting any better.
Well, and you don't get that peak back, so we're into summer. And we've still got El Nino in this part of the world until at least February, the latest forecasts are saying. So, yeah, we're not adding to the problem over here, are we?
No, we're not. So GDT, therefore, just a bit in the background, looking at the right-hand side there, this was before the event. And what happened during yesterday in the US was the bottom market lost $1,000 in 2 days.
Yes.
So this is just before the second of those 2 days, start of trade. But generally, things have been heading down, sideways a little bit in US cheese if you look at both types, but generally, bearish tones. Skim milk powder caught the biggest hammering of this event. And it looks quite similar to last time. We'll see more of that. Whole milk powder, though, continued that slide, that interesting trend. And when you look at the pulse results in the middle, they give a nice momentum and it's been consistent. Yes. So let's extend. Where might that go? Are we seeing a ski ramp appear here?
Yeah.
We're not. That would suggest we had a bit of a curve going down. We might still keep going down if we just relied on those results.
Or what happens at the end of a ski jump? You either take flight or you fall over.
Or you crash. So looking at demand, if I just toggle between this and last event, not much was different. In fact, when you look at the demand curves, they look eerily the same. I'll point out a couple of differences, but between those two, it's quite similar. When you look at the big two powders, probably a little worse for skim milk powder. Yeah. Just how low demand got, and in fact, when we look at that curve, now when you saw that, what did you think?
I thought everyone had to go to the toilet at the same time, perhaps, and just left it for a while. But it's probably a lot more technical than that, Steve.
I reckon it might be. So it started off a little better than the previous event, not much, but then just slumped. I haven't bothered putting up the butter and the cheese. The cheese line looks absolutely weird. I had to extend the left-hand side down because of that fall. Just some trends, and I thought it would be interesting to pull out because we are seeing some shifts in the way GDT is being used.
Sure.
And we've talked about this a couple of times, but it's interesting to just look at this a little longer. So Chinese buying of whole milk powder, obviously we see a greatly reduced involvement. The buying volumes are down by a third, and we have seen a fall in volumes, but not that much. And there's only 1% less being sold, so there's quite a dip in their participation.
Yes.
On the other side of that, we've seen an increase in Southeast Asia's involvement, which has been important, and we've seen that in the broader trade as well. There's been heavier buying, even though prices stayed elevated for most of that period. There's been an increase in the buying into that region of whole milk powder. We look at skim milk powder again. China using GDT a little more which is interesting in volume because the volumes are actually up. You know, there's 31% more being sold so far this season because New Zealand's making more. So up a bit over 10%. Go back to Southeast Asia, they're up nearly 2/3 in this skim milk powder buying. So it's not all negative.
No.
I mean, the platforms, there's a change in the mix of involvement as it's turning out. So once, you know, this was all about how much China buys on this platform, that's shifting. And then how it shifts, and are we going to see a permanent reduction in how much China buys
on the platform,
how much they buy in the background and in the total market. So it's an interesting time.
But it's sort of leading to a more broad-based, perhaps, buying
over time
population. Yeah.
And one of the ones picking up the slack in whole milk is the Middle East. So their involvement's lifted, and that little set of words on the left-hand side is incorrect. So there's a typo. Happens sometimes. But their buying is up 2/3, and their total trade, I just put that there, from May to August is up 15%. And a lot of income improvement in those economies.
Yes.
With the oil market being so strong. So, you know, there's some upside there. Joe, chart of the week.
Oh, we're here already.
We're here already because I know you like brief videos.
Well, Steve, this week I thought, well, actually you thought that this was a terrific slide that you produced, and we really should have a chat about it. So what it's really talking about is what's going on with US consumers, and what this is showing, that credit card balances are going up quickly in the current situation, and savings are trending down. So consumers, to maintain their spending, given the inflationary environment, are dipping into savings. That basically the message here, Steve?
Pretty much. Dipping deeply into savings.
Yes.
I've seen various quotes as to how long you have to go back to see a record. These are seasonally adjusted. It only goes back to 2005. But in absolute terms, it's 40 years. But card balances are going up faster than inflation. So they're basically booking the inflation into their credit cards. You can see total spending. The chart on the right's really interesting because the rising interest rates has slowed something down.
It certainly has.
Total spending was roaring along faster than the rate of inflation, which was, you know, this goes back to January. Inflation is already up to, you know, nearly 8% by then. Interest rates have cut in and pulled that down, so spending is going at the pace of inflation. Food is a lot less than that.
Yeah.
Now, I reckon we looked at this in the Australian data as well, which is not really interesting for the crowd, but the food mix of spend is going down. So we noticed there's a much higher percentage of food service being used
here
in the US.
Oh.
And so it's not actually a volume. People aren't eating less calories. There's not a volume reduction. It's a change in the mix, and they're paying for less labour, I guess, in that mix. So they're spending, you know, a lot less in the food sector. So food's doing this, you know, they're doing a bit, cutting back the spending, probably going more towards, you know, cheaper items and trading down, and that's the mix shift. It's seeing what appears to be a volume shift in food, but not really.
Yeah.
But it's certainly cutting into activity.
That's right. Yeah, and I guess here what we've seen is we're still comparing to lockdown periods or when large swathes of our country were locked down. So there's a bit more food service spending in our mix.
There's a bit of this here too.
Yeah. But interesting. It's certainly starting to grind into the US economy just as the midterms approach. So
and that's quite persuasive, isn't it? Right. Well, a short one. That's all from us. We'll be back again soon, and another edition of Fundamentals will be coming your way.
Oh,
in the next
exciting.
That's really exciting.